Taking responsibility for your life is the foundation of real transformation. It's the moment you stop waiting for circumstances to change, for other people to behave differently, for the world to be fair. None of that is going to happen. The world is chaotic, unpredictable, and often ruthless. But here's the truth. You are not helpless. The second you realize that your choices, your actions, and your mindset determine the quality of your existence, you shift from being a passive observer to an active participant in your own life. Most people don't take responsibility because it's hard. It's easier to blame external forces, your upbringing, society, the government, your boss, your family. And sure, those things have an impact. Life isn't fair, and some people start at a disadvantage. But what's the alternative? If you wait for the world to fix itself, you'll wait forever. No one is coming to save you. The moment you accept this is the moment you take control. Responsibility is terrifying because it means if your life is a mess, it's your fault. But that's also liberating. If you are the problem, you are also the solution. You have power. The problem is that most people are too afraid to acknowledge this because responsibility also comes with accountability. It means that every failure, every setback, every unfulfilled dream is in some way within your power to change. That's a heavy burden, but it's also the only way forward. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you control everything that happens to you. You don't. Tragedy, loss, and suffering are inevitable, but you do control your reaction to those things. You control whether you let them define you or whether you use them as fuel to grow stronger. The mindset shift that changed my life was realizing that responsibility is not about guilt or blame. It's about power. When you take responsibility, you take back control. The first step to radical responsibility is to stop making excuses. Be brutally honest with yourself. Where are you failing? Where are you falling short? If you're unhealthy, admit that your eating habits and exercise routine are the issue. If your relationships are struggling, acknowledge that your communication or emotional patterns might be contributing. If you're unhappy in your career, recognize that you either need to develop new skills, change your approach, or take a risk. This kind of honesty is painful, but it's necessary. The truth hurts, but lies destroy. The next step is to stop waiting. Most people procrastinate on taking action because they believe they need motivation, the perfect plan, or the right timing. That's a lie. The only thing that creates change is action. Start where you are with what you have. If you're overwhelmed, pick the smallest thing you can fix and fix it. Clean your room, organize your schedule, set one goal and follow through. Responsibility isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistency. Once you start taking responsibility, something incredible happens. You build momentum. Small wins lead to bigger wins. When you start seeing results, even tiny ones, your mindset shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as someone who has control. And control breeds confidence. The more you take responsibility, the more powerful you become. But be warned, this isn't a one-time decision. Taking responsibility is a lifelong commitment. It's easy to fall back into old habits of blame and excuses. That's why you need to remind yourself daily that no one is responsible for your life except you. When you catch yourself making excuses, stop. When you find yourself waiting for the right time, act anyway. When things go wrong, resist the urge to blame and instead ask, what can I do to fix this? That question alone will change your life. Ultimately, radical responsibility is the key to freedom. When you stop blaming, stop waiting, and start acting, you become the architect of your own life. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You realize that no matter how unfair life is, you always have a choice. And that realization, it's the first step to real, lasting change. People crave comfort. It's natural. We are wired to seek pleasure, to avoid pain, to minimize struggle. But comfort in excess is a trap. It dulls ambition, weakens resilience, and leads to a slow, creeping dissatisfaction with life. The pursuit of comfort might feel good in the moment, but in the long run it leads to stagnation. Real fulfillment, real purpose comes not from avoiding discomfort, but from facing it head on in the pursuit of something meaningful. The problem is that modern life makes comfort too easy. Food is available at the push of a button. Entertainment is endless and instantly accessible. If you don't want to confront reality, you don't have to. You can distract yourself endlessly with social media, television, and meaningless indulgences. But this kind of comfort doesn't bring happiness, it brings numbness. And the more you indulge in it, the harder it becomes to break free. Before you know it, years have passed and you realize you haven't grown, you haven't built anything of value, and you're left wondering why you feel unfulfilled. Meaning, on the other hand, is found in struggle. It is found in the pursuit of something greater than yourself. It is found in setting a goal that challenges you, that forces you to push beyond your limits, that makes you confront failure and hardship. And it is in that struggle that you grow. It's in that struggle that you develop strength, resilience, and a sense of purpose. If you want a fulfilling life, you have to choose meaning over comfort. Choosing meaning means doing what is difficult when it would be easier to avoid it. It means waking up early to work on your goals when your body wants to sleep in. It means pushing yourself in the gym when it would be easier to stay home. It means having hard conversations instead of avoiding conflict. It means delaying gratification, sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term fulfillment. This is not easy, but it is necessary. Most people avoid discomfort because they associate it with suffering. But the truth is, there are two kinds of suffering: the suffering of discipline and the suffering of regret. The suffering of discipline is temporary. It's the pain of pushing through resistance, of working hard, of failing and trying again. But it leads to growth, to success, to a deep sense of accomplishment. The suffering of regret, on the other hand, is permanent. It is looking back on your life and realizing you wasted your potential, that you chose the easy path, and now it's too late, that you avoided pain only to end up with a deeper, more lasting kind of suffering. The people who accomplish great things, who live deeply meaningful lives, are not the ones who chase comfort. They are the ones who are willing to endure difficulty for the sake of something greater. They are the ones who push through self-doubt, who embrace challenge, who take responsibility for their lives. They understand that true happiness doesn't come from avoiding hardship. It comes from overcoming it. If you want to change your life, you must start seeking meaning instead of comfort. Ask yourself, what is the thing you know you should do but have been avoiding? What challenge have you been too afraid to take on? What goal have you been putting off because it's difficult? That's the path you need to take. That's where meaning is found. This shift in mindset will change everything. When you stop expecting life to be easy and instead embrace the idea that struggle is necessary, you stop resisting it. You stop complaining when things get hard. You stop looking for shortcuts. You start leaning into the challenge, knowing that it is in the struggle that you will find growth and fulfillment. Comfort is seductive. It lulls you into a false sense of security. But deep down, you know that a life spent in comfort, without challenge, without struggle, is a wasted life. Clarity is power. The way you define your goals, your values, and your problems determines the direction of your life. Most people drift through existence with vague ambitions, uncertain desires, and ill-defined frustrations. They say they want to be successful, happy, or fulfilled, but they can't explain what that actually means. They have problems, but they don't know the root cause. They feel stuck, but they can't pinpoint why. The moment you bring precision to your thoughts, to your actions, to your goals, everything changes. Precision is the difference between wandering aimlessly and moving toward a clear destination. The first step in mastering precision is defining exactly what you want. I want to be successful is not a goal, it's a wish. Success must be defined. What does it look like for you? How much money do you need to feel financially stable? What kind of work do you want to do? What kind of relationships do you want to build? The more clearly you define your goals, the more likely you are to achieve them. If you don't know what you want, how will you ever get there? The mind needs a target. Without one, you will be at the mercy of circumstance, moving in whichever direction the wind blows. The same applies to your problems. People often say they are unhappy, but what does that actually mean? Are you unhappy with your career, your relationships, your health, your habits? The more precisely you diagnose the problem, the easier it is to fix. Vague problems have vague solutions. But if you can pinpoint exactly what is wrong, you can take specific action to correct it. The precision of thought leads to precision in action. Another critical aspect of precision is in communication. Most conflicts, whether in relationships or in the workplace, stem from a failure to communicate clearly. People assume others understand them, but in reality, they often speak in abstractions, leaving room for misinterpretation. Learning to articulate your thoughts with accuracy eliminates confusion. Say what you mean. Express your needs, your concerns, and your intentions in a way that cannot be misunderstood. When you do this, you remove unnecessary conflict and increase your ability to influence and persuade others. Precision is also crucial in daily habits. If you want to change your life, you must first identify the specific behaviors that are holding you back. Saying, "I need to be more productive" is useless unless you define what productivity looks like. Does it mean waking up at a specific time, working for a set number of hours, completing certain key tasks each day? The more precise your plan, the more likely you are to follow through. Ambiguity leads to inaction. Clarity leads to results. When you apply precision to your thinking, your communication, and your actions, something remarkable happens. You become more competent. People respect those who are clear, direct, and focused. Opportunities open up because you are seen as someone who knows what they are doing. Your confidence increases because you are no longer lost in uncertainty. You develop the ability to navigate life with intention rather than passivity. Precision also requires discipline. It is easier to remain vague, to avoid making concrete decisions, because vagueness allows for excuses. If your goal is unclear, failure is harder to measure. But when you define exactly what you want, when you articulate your problems clearly, you are forced to confront the truth. That truth may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Precision cuts through illusion. It forces you to face reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. There is a reason why those who succeed in life are often meticulous. They know exactly where they are going and exactly what it takes to get there. They do not rely on vague dreams. They define their goals with specificity. They plan their actions with detail, and they measure their progress with accuracy. This is not a coincidence. It is a principle of success. The clearer you are, the more control you have. The more control you have, the more power you wield over your own destiny. If you feel lost, if you feel stuck, start with precision. Write down exactly what you want. Define exactly what is wrong. Communicate exactly what you mean. Take exactly the actions needed to move forward. The more precise you become, the faster you will see progress. A sharp blade cuts through resistance. A sharp mind cuts through chaos. Precision is not just a skill, it is a necessity. There is a dragon in your life. You know it's there. It lurks in the shadows of your mind, growing stronger every time you avoid it. It represents your deepest fears, your unresolved pain, your weaknesses, your failures, and the parts of yourself you don't want to face. The longer you ignore it, the more powerful it becomes. But here's the truth. Your greatest potential lies on the other side of that dragon. If you want to change your life, if you want to grow into the person you were meant to be, you have to confront it. Fear is the force that keeps most people stuck. It disguises itself in different ways. Procrastination, self-doubt, avoidance, addiction. People say they don't have enough time, they aren't ready, they'll do it later. But deep down, it's always the same thing. Fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of pain, fear of facing the truth about who they are. And yet the paradox is that the thing you fear most is often the thing you need most. The hard conversation you've been avoiding, the challenge you've been postponing, the weakness you refuse to acknowledge. These are the very things that, if confronted, will set you free. Avoidance does not make the dragon disappear. It makes it grow. Every time you back down, you teach yourself that the fear is justified. You become weaker. Your confidence erodes. Your world becomes smaller. You see this in people who have spent their whole lives running from discomfort. They never take risks, never push their limits, never challenge their assumptions. They live in a cage of their own making. And the saddest part? They don't even realize it. They tell themselves that life just turned out this way, that it wasn't their fault. But in reality, it was fear that built the walls around them. Confronting the dragon means doing the thing that terrifies you. It means looking at yourself honestly and admitting where you are failing. It means acknowledging your flaws, your mistakes, your shortcomings. It is uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also necessary. Growth does not happen in comfort. Strength is not built in ease. If you want to become better, if you want to break free from the patterns that have held you back, you have to be willing to step into discomfort. You have to be willing to suffer in the short term for the sake of something greater. The second step is taking action. Imperfect, messy action. People wait until they feel ready, until the fear disappears, but that moment never comes. You don't slay the dragon by thinking about it. You do it by stepping forward, sword in hand, and swinging even when your hands are shaking. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. The first swing might not be perfect. You might fail, but the simple act of confronting what you fear weakens its grip on you. The third step is persistence. The dragon is not defeated in one battle. You will face setbacks. You will be tempted to retreat. The old habits will call you back. The fear will whisper in your ear, telling you to stop, that it's too hard. Ignore it. Keep moving forward. Every time you choose to confront your fear rather than run from it, you become stronger. You build resilience. You gain power over yourself. And eventually, you realize that the dragon was never as powerful as it seemed. Here's the truth. You are capable of far more than you believe, but you will never discover your strength if you never test it. The version of yourself that you dream of becoming is on the other side of the battle you are avoiding. The life you want, the confidence you crave, the success you hope for, it all lies beyond the fear. You just have to be willing to fight for it. So ask yourself, what is your dragon? What are you avoiding, and when will you finally turn and face it? Because the moment you do, you will realize that fear was never the enemy, avoidance was. And the moment you confront the dragon, your real life begins. Truth is the foundation of a meaningful life. Without it, everything crumbles. Your relationships, your sense of self, your ability to navigate the world. And yet, most people avoid the truth. They lie to others, but worse, they lie to themselves. They hide behind excuses, distort reality to protect their ego, and turn away from the uncomfortable facts, staring them in the face. But the truth does not go away just because you ignore it. It waits. And the longer you avoid it, the heavier the consequences become. Telling the truth is difficult because it requires courage. It means admitting when you are wrong. It means acknowledging your flaws, your failures, and your shortcomings. It means facing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Most people are unwilling to do this. It is easier to pretend, to deceive, to create a false version of yourself that is more comfortable. But the cost of that comfort is high. Lies, no matter how small, erode trust. They weaken character. They create a life built on a fragile foundation, one that will inevitably collapse under the weight of reality. The first and most important place to tell the truth is to yourself. Look at your life with brutal honesty. Where are you failing? What are you avoiding? What habits are destroying you? Where are you making excuses? This kind of self-examination is painful, but it is also the first step toward real change. If you cannot be honest with yourself, you cannot fix anything. You will stay stuck in the same patterns, making the same mistakes, wondering why nothing ever improves. The truth is harsh, but it is also the key to freedom. Truth-telling also matters in relationships. Every healthy relationship, whether romantic, familial, or professional, is built on trust, and trust is built on honesty. People think they can lie to protect others, to keep the peace, to avoid conflict. But lies, even well-intended ones, slowly corrode the foundation of a relationship. They create distance. They make real connection impossible. A relationship built on falsehoods is not a real relationship at all. It is a performance, a fragile illusion that will eventually shatter. If you care about someone, tell them the truth. It may hurt in the short term, but in the long run, it builds strength and respect. Speaking the truth does not mean being cruel. Honesty should not be used as a weapon to tear others down. It should be guided by wisdom, by a sense of responsibility. The goal is not to destroy, but to illuminate, to bring clarity, to help others see reality more clearly, to build something stronger. But truth must be spoken, even when it is uncomfortable. When you avoid difficult conversations, when you refuse to address problems directly, you allow them to grow into something worse. That hard truths, when faced, lead to resolution. Lies and avoidance lead to decay. Living truthfully also means aligning your actions with your words. Many people say one thing but do another. They claim to have values but betray them in their daily choices. They promise things they never intend to fulfill. This kind of dishonesty is not just about words. It is about integrity. When you are truthful, your actions and words are one and the same. You become someone who can be relied upon, someone others respect, someone who is not easily swayed by external pressures. Telling the truth also forces you to take responsibility for your life. Lies often serve as a shield to avoid accountability. People blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck instead of facing the reality of their own choices. But the moment you start telling the truth, you can no longer hide behind excuses. You are forced to confront the fact that your life is a reflection of your actions. This is difficult, but it is also empowering. Because if your choices have led you to where you are, then your choices can also lead you somewhere better. Truth is not just a moral principle, it is a practical tool for success. When you are honest, you think more clearly, you make better decisions, you avoid unnecessary complications that arise from deception, you build stronger relationships, you develop a reputation for integrity, which opens doors and creates opportunities. The world respects those who are honest because they are rare. In a society filled with deception and half-truths, someone who tells the truth stands out. The truth is hard. It is often painful, but it is always worth it. Lies may offer temporary relief, but they always lead to greater suffering in the end. The truth, no matter how difficult, is what ultimately sets you free. So stop lying to yourself, to others, to the world. Face reality head on. Speak with honesty. Live with integrity, and watch as your life transforms. Change does not happen overnight. People dream of transformation, of waking up one day as a completely different person, more disciplined, more confident, more successful. But this is a fantasy. Real change happens through small, consistent actions. It is the accumulation of tiny victories that over time lead to massive transformation. The problem is that most people dismiss small wins because they seem insignificant. They want instant results, and when they don't get them, they quit. But the truth is, every great achievement is built on a foundation of small, repeated successes. The reason small wins are so powerful is that they create momentum. Change is hard because it requires effort, and effort feels overwhelming when you look at the big picture. If you focus only on the end goal, it feels too far away, too impossible. But when you shift your focus to just winning the next small battle, everything becomes manageable. You don't need to conquer the entire mountain today. You just need to take one step forward, and then another, and another. Over time, those steps add up, and before you know it, you have climbed higher than you ever thought possible. One of the biggest mistakes people make is setting goals that are too large without breaking them down into actionable steps. If someone wants to lose weight, they set a goal like, I want to lose 50 pounds. That's a great long-term vision, but it's useless without a plan. The real goal should be something small and specific, like, I will go for a 10-minute walk today, or I will drink one less soda. These small wins might seem trivial, but they create a sense of progress, and progress, no matter how small, fuels motivation. When you see yourself succeeding in small ways, you start believing that bigger success is possible. Another reason small wins are so effective is that they rewire your identity. Every time you complete a small win, you reinforce a new self-image. If you consistently go to the gym, even for just 10 minutes, you start to see yourself as someone who works out. If you read a few pages of a book each day, you start to see yourself as a reader. Identity change is the key to long-term transformation, and it happens through small, repeated action. Most people fail to change because they try to force a new identity overnight, but identity is not something you declare, it is something you build through consistent action. Small wins also eliminate the need for motivation. Many people think they need to feel inspired to take action, but that's backwards. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you take small steps forward, you feel a sense of accomplishment, and that feeling generates the energy to keep going. If you wait until you feel ready, you will never start. But if you focus on just doing one small thing today, you will build momentum, and momentum is what keeps you moving when motivation fades. There is also a psychological effect to small wins. They reduce resistance. When a task feels too big, the brain resists it. But when a task feels small and manageable, the brain is more likely to engage. If you tell yourself you have to work out for an hour, you might find excuses to skip it. But if you commit to just 5 minutes, you are far more likely to start. And once you start, you usually end up doing more than you plan. The hardest part of any task is beginning. Small wins lower the barrier to entry, making it easier to take that first step. The compounding effect of small wins is what creates massive change. Imagine improving by just 1% every day. At first, it seems like nothing, but over weeks, months, and years, those small improvements add up in ways you cannot imagine. The problem is that most people quit before they see the results. They do something small for a few days, don't see a massive difference, and assume it's not working. But the early stages of change are always invisible. Progress is happening beneath the surface, and if you stay consistent, there will come a moment when everything clicks. The person who sticks with small improvements over time will always outperform the person who tries to change everything at once and burns out. If you want to change your life, start small. Pick one habit, make one improvement, win one tiny battle today, and then do it again tomorrow. The results won't be instant, but they will be inevitable. Small wins repeated consistently lead to massive change. That is how real transformation happens.